this abyssling guide. I'm going to show you guys how to clear your descent raids, pretty much gather all of the rewards, and hit maximum stage 11 damage in the raids as well. So you pretty much be able to carry your raids as a minion build. In Sickish, you can even break the cage and do it yourself, so you don't even need a party. You need a party to get in, but that's about it. And you'll be doing a lot of damage. Sometimes can maintain 400 million, but over the minute it usually goes down to 389, especially on a level 120 Scarecrow. So we'll go over all that here in this build here. And let's go over to the training. And we'll talk over crafting and the skill tree, along with everything else. Okay, let's go over build update. So here's kind of where the skill grid is right now. So if you're wondering what to do, I've put a lot of videos out on the summoner already, and especially on the Javelin Abysslings, so you can check those out on why everything interacts with itself, but I'll show you the final build here. So for mapping, the Javelin Abyssling itself is using this link setup. So we're going to use Find Weakness, Amplify Projectile, Mana Storm, Strike, Chain, and Multi-Shot. And this is going to be one of the best setups I've found. For single target, all you do is just switch in minion damage. There's other things you can use, but if you have these and you've synthesized all this stuff, this seems to give some of the most damage. Now, this is more of an advanced guide for people that have been playing Summoner already, so we'll kind of skip to what endgame is going to be doing. So for endgame, you got Seal of Striking. Once you've synth this, you need to awaken it to Origin. And the reason why is because you get the aura range, and it'll affect your minions after this. So as soon as you awaken this, you get the Seal effect dampening, but you also get the ability to have this affect your minions. So one of the first things you'll awaken, if you want to use it, is going to be Seal Striking. Next big awakening, I think, is going to be the Chain. The extra chaining count and the range, very nice, especially if you're using Javelins. And then the next awakening was the Strike Origin. Didn't really like Strike unless I had it awakened to reduce some of this attack speed dampening. So if you're going to use Strike, that's what I'd awaken next. As for legendaries, the order you kind of want to do legendaries in is you want to go Multi-Shot, Chain, and then Amplify Physical Projectile Damage. These are the ones that have the highest increases. This increases the base physical, also gives it damage amp. And then Chain is going to give you the extra chaining. You don't need to legendary chain. It gets extra chaining with just being yellow and whatnot, but still it's nice to get this legendary as soon as possible. And Multi-Shot gets the extra projectile count. And that's the reason why we do that. After that, just for raw damage, go ahead and start awakening the other things, but they just give you percentage damage. There's no amp. Last thing I'll probably awaken here is going to be my minion damage. Or maybe even Unity. I might awaken Unity, and that's just to make Find Weakness. I want to get rid of Find Weakness eventually, and replace it with an Awakened Unity for the minions getting the increased crit chance. Next things that were pretty important to Legendary, you get the extra stage with Sacred Devotion. Unite Crowd is overall one of the strongest abilities you have as a summoner. So that should help you guys out. You'll see I also legendaried my time acceleration, and that's only because I rely a lot on these three abilities. Oh, this one's not linked to it right now. We'll have to relink that. I was doing something earlier, so that's not linked. Now, You'll want this link to time acceleration, even though I don't have it there. So make sure you do that. And once you're in late game, if you're doing the HP regeneration build, Tenacious Regeneration is a must. And Shout of Justice helps a lot. Penetrating Slash is the secondary movement. It works very well. It has the most max use count that I've seen out of all the skills. Cooldown reduces as you level it. And it allows you to get out of being binded. If you're binded in place, you can Penetrating Slash. You'll still stay binded, but at least you can move out of the way of mechanics. As for your Summon Lightning Rune Knight, it's not imperative that you put a bunch of link on him right off the bat. The best stuff for him to do is you're going full damage. That's where you're going status effect and continuous shock. If you're not, then you're going to go with minion body shield and the minion armor. The link rune that makes him the most tanky, though, is going to be the HP one. The HP one gives him an HP of 2% max HP per second. And if you stack that with any other percentages, including the one from the tree or from your rings, the Rune Knight will become tanky enough that he'll be able to handle most bosses and most maps without being one shot. And he regenerates quick. So there you go. Hopefully that helps with what you want to do kind of with your skill tree here. As for the rune stones, you're just looking for things that increase the damage of your main ability. Or if you don't find that, you're looking for things that increase stuff like Sacred Devotion helps, increase Mark of Focus, things that reduce the cooldown recovery speed of things. I think I had Mark of Focus here earlier. Increase Tenacious Regeneration, anything like that. Help out your build a lot. As for charms, very quickly, you're just going to be using charms for the stats that make sense. It's minion damage and minion attack speed. Now, if you're behind on some kind of stat, you can try to use your charms to get that, especially over here with the abilities here. Getting yourself Castor to get the extra elemental resist, or Boreal for the extra armor if you needed it. That can help. But you're mainly looking for just attack speed as your suffix, and your prefix. The two best prefixes, I think, you're just going to get minion attack damage, or you're going to get the HP. So HP and minion attack speed, this is one of the best charms you can get, or you can go for the damage and attack speed. It doesn't matter if it's a random Castors or a Boreal, as you see, or if you happen to have a Sefdar's one. If you don't have these, you're going to have to get something minion HP works, just anything that works with your build. Don't get something like this where it's 20 HP and then max HP when shield is equipped. If you can get something better than this, since you're not using a shield, go for it. Final little thing for people. We'll go over the Zodiac Tree. So you have the skills, you have the charms, and we'll do the Zodiac Tree. So Zodiac Tree is pretty simple. You're just picking minion damage in every one of the minion damage trees. You're going down the damage and attack speed for the most part. For tankiness, kind of going armor, HP path. You'll see we pick that in most of the trees here. So I'll just kind of go over the way you'd level up. You'd kind of come across over here. Then by then, you're going to get your specialization. Drop down over to here and go crit build. Still going crit build. Getting a little bit of damage penetration. Over here, we're just getting ourselves a little bit of tankiness. Full crit. Attack speed. A little bit of tankiness here. This is more pertaining to my own character and what kind of resist I need. So everybody will do a different kind of point allocation for your defenses. Last little thing over here. Got the crit rate. I don't recommend getting the minion bleed. unless you're doing bossing. If you're just doing maps, this isn't that important. So you can kind of stick with just doing the crit and then using these points for your own tankiness. And then right over here, this is the easiest HP amplification you can get, and it goes with the physical dampening that we're doing. And then for your final tree, got yourself the crit damage. Times 2 damage is kind of nice too. But you're mainly just getting more crit. The energies are good. I just haven't experimented with them much. So I'll give update on that later. And if you've done challenge mode, you're going to have a tree that looks like this. And this is just for max minion summon count and damage. Same thing here. We got the minion damage nodes. Went ahead and went with Unite Power. And the final node is a little bit different than what most people will do. So you have the max Abyssling summon count, and instead of minion acceleration, and this is only because of the gearing that we have, we've switched over to stat transfer. So we're getting near the max amount of strength for the crit rate, and our intelligence is still low for the crit damage. So this isn't optimal yet. We don't have the intelligence to actually make use of this yet, but we're getting there. And I wanted to try it out, and it's been pretty good damage with it. So there's your Zodiac Tree. You're not really doing anything too spectacular. You're mainly just going down. There's only one way to kind of build when you're doing minions. It's the minion damage. If you have something else in mind, or you need help with something, you might do some minion tankiness, but for the most part, you're just taking minion damage nodes. And that goes all the way into the end game. The more damage I have, the more I feel like getting minion tank nodes, but we'll see as that goes. And then also with your stat allocation, just looking for as much HP and armor as I can, so we have as much strength as possible, and then just enough intelligence to wield the items, and none into dexterity. And that'll be the main brunt of the build. You got the gearing, which we went over. We have the, which we'll go over here in a moment. And then we have the Zodiac Tree. We have the charms. And then the last thing to really kind of go over is the relics. So when you're leveling your relics, you'll kind of do your first relic based off what your character needs. You may even just need like potion recovery because you're having a hard time with certain content. But once you're into the end game there, it kind of goes down to Acubin and Castor and then mixed with something else. So for me, Acubin, the passive from it's great. You got the crit. Castor, amazing. It's made for minions. And then Boreal we went with because of our build. We like HP and HP regen. And I wanted to have a curse that amplified the physical damage of my minions. Now, this is the best for Javelin build I found, and I've tried a few different things. But if you find something better, just let me know. Okay, so gearing's pretty simple. You're a crit build, and you're mainly putting crit into your tree. So you're going to build crit, and you're doing attack speed. So let's do that. Weapon prefixes, you're going attack speed, damage amp, and max Abyssling summon count. If you decide to use the unique neck, then you're going to replace the max Abyssling summon count with the damage. Minion critical damage for suffixes and the minion critical rate. Out of everything here, the minion critical rate being as high as possible is the most important until you get to 90 plus or 100% crit on the minions. After that, everything goes into crit damage. Legendary effects that I have, none of them are very good. So speed on that doesn't affect us. It affects my character, but not my minions. And this is a T31 staff, so you get the 340% minion damage. Go ahead and make sure you get a prosperity staff. The question on how you make this is you just find a normal staff, you throw a Sefdar Authority Essence on here, and it'll turn into Prosperity. So there you go, Sefdar Authority Essence. For the necklace, it uses a Mirazeti Essence for the water. And the reason why we do that is for the crit damage suffix. So once again, no good legendary. This is not affecting me. But everything else on the necklace rolled into stats that we use. So that's why we tried the legendary. HP works. You can get damage penetration, but you kind of go with whatever you can roll on. It depends on how much you want to try to make it something perfect. This is good enough for me, and so I made it legendary. Got the crit damage, minion damage, damage amp, and the HP. These are the main stats we wanted. Intelligence works with the build, and so does the minion elemental resist. Last thing is the Capri rings. This is for the authorities. Well, I guess we got two more. And then you got the damage amp, minion attack speed, minion critical rate. So on rings, if you can roll a Capri ring, you want to get the damage amp. If you can get 7% damage amp, if you can get tier 11 minion attack speed, you're good to go on prefixes. The third prefix usually isn't anything that's going to be that amazing. And then for your suffixes, you're looking for crit damage and crit rate. Those are the two main ones. Anything else that you get works, but you just want to make sure that you're getting crit rate and crit damage if you can. If you can get both of them, great. If not, it's pretty hard to roll everything. Last thing over here for minion damage in particular, it's going to be your gloves. So hybrid gloves can roll minion stats, and that's what you're going to try to do. So in this case, we went for mana cost dampening gloves. Armor barrier hybrid. Rolled the HP, minion attack speed for the prefixes. And then for suffixes, you get minion damage amp. You can go for 2 resist here, but we got the crit damage and the crit rate, and these rolled pretty good. So we just went with it. Really good stats. So if once again, gloves can roll the attack speed, damage amp, crit rate, and crit damage for your minions. Other than that, you're going to be going for resist on your belt, on your chest, and on your boots. Now, if you're looking for maximum damage with the character and not mapping, we have a build for that. But for mapping, you're going to want to get a helmet with simultaneous abyssling count. This makes things much easier, especially if your minions are dying on the map fast. This allows you to summon 3 instead of just 2, and getting to your 5 count faster is much easier with this, especially on bosses that are randomly one-shotting a few mobs here and there, or a few of your minions. For maximum damage, though, especially on raid bosses, you're going to be going for the enhanced skill rune effect on your helmet. So we're going for a fire helmet. That allows you to roll enhanced skill rune effect as a suffix. And a perfect helmet, to me, would be HP, enhanced skill rune effect, and then 2 resists. The last prefix can be whatever you want. And this goes with your boots as well. Boots can be whatever kind of boots you want until you want to hit maximum damage. Then you're going for a pair of boots that will allow you to get the attack enhanced skill rune. So they're 2 different things, but they affect almost everything the same. So you got the enhanced skill rune effect and the attack enhanced skill rune effect. Once you stack these up pretty high, your damage will go up a lot more significant, especially with all of your auras. And almost all of the minion skills are attack enhanced. So this was going to help a lot. For the boots, just try to get 2 resist in the attack enhanced skill, and then movement speed. The other prefixes, if you can get HP, it's great. If not, movement speed and attack enhanced is hard enough to get alone. That's it for the gear. So mainly crit, as you see. Most all the gear is crit rating and crit damage at any place that we can get. Damage amplification for minions is the next best thing. We're getting that on every piece of gear that can roll it. And then other than that, you're just raising your defenses to the maximum. So even without having very good legendary gear, or even having a maximum crit rate or anything like that, we've been able to get up to 389 million DPS. So that's a lot. It starts off at 400 million, but it drops down. So eventually we'll be at the 400 million mark. But without even too many legendaries or even ones that are really helping us that much, this has been a good way to gear yourself. So hopefully that helps with gear. And remember, this is a little bit more for advanced gearing. I wouldn't recommend just going out right away, getting the attack enhanced skill rune effect stuff on all of your gear, trying to make your gloves into full minion damage gloves, things like this. You need to survive. So when you're new to gearing, go for resist on everything you can get in HP, and then slowly start to move all of your gear over to the crit, and try to keep your armor and your resist as high as possible. One of the abilities that I don't think everybody always puts too much effort into is the Mark of Focus. When I stream, I have multiple people come in and have brought up that they just leave this at level 1 and they just use it to target the bosses with. So I've taken it to level 35 and awakened it as one of my first awakenings because the 34% minion damage taken, 68% damage from minions increase. So these increases and this damage taken, this is a different increase than just a percent. This doesn't mean your minions are doing 68% damage. This means that the creatures are taking 68% more damage from your minions, and that makes them almost take like amp damage. So this is one of the strongest increases for your minions. You can make them do tremendous damage for focusing on your Mark of Focus. And I just figured it was worth mentioning because some people might wonder, well, you know, out of all the things you could have awakened here, you decide to awaken Mark of Focus to just make it do 34% more damage. That's not exactly what this does, and it's worth explaining that to people, is that 34.8% minion damage taken increase to enemies within 500 range. This is a tremendous increase in damage. So if you do awaken this and you start using it on things, you'll notice that bosses and yellows would just evaporate once you put the Mark of Focus on. So hopefully that helps you realize how the build works, and then also why mana starts to become a problem late game. Because you start leveling your gathered minions, you start leveling Mark of Focus up, start doing your Sacred Devotion, and all of this combined starts to really eat at your mana, especially if you're using Mark of Focus correctly, and that is every single time it's up.